right, guys, so what we have here is a Resto Mod steel style, stock, stamp style fuel tank that's an EFI tank for the Chevelle for LS swaps. Okay, and I had my eye on this tank for like a couple years now, and the reason being it uses VaporWorks technology for the fuel pump and all this stuff in here, which I'll explain in a second, okay? Now, VaporWorks is another company, and it looks like Rick's uses their technology, okay? So it's two separate things, I think. But anyway, what I'm interested in is this hole in the attachment, okay? So this is a stock-style GM attachment that accepts fuel modules from the LS3, the Cadillac CTS-V, and whatnot. This is like a standard opening and lock ring, and there's numerous pumps that I can put in here to feed a lot of horsepower. I mean, there's options up to, I don't know, 2,000 horsepower, something crazy like that. So that's what I like about this, okay? So actually, let me look at this. Back in 2015, I bought stuff from VaporWorks, and I was going to custom build a tank like this. I bought a stainless style stock replacement tank, and I was going to cut it up and weld. See, here's a stainless ring, which is this portion, and I was going to weld it to a tank and make a drop-down hat, and then I'd probably have to build a little bit of a sump because the stock tank, I believe, is only X amount of inches deep. This tank here is almost 7 inches deep, so you need some depth for the fuel module. So basically what this tank came with, I got a nice hat from them. I got a fuel neck for this that came with it, straps, came with a GM AC Delco lock ring to lock the fuel module in there. Here is a corner pickup kit, which I'll explain in a second. And then the guys over at Rick's, thanks to Hector and Chuy, they gave me, they hooked me up with a fuel sending unit. So huge thanks to those guys. They just threw this in. So it was real nice of them to do that. So this is a 0 to 90 ohm fuel sender that'll work with my stock gauge and all that good stuff. Okay, so first let's talk about this. So here's a fuel module that I bought years ago, and this is out of a Gen 5 Camaro, an LS3. This is probably not going to be enough for my horsepower goals, but I can buy something else. But anyway, let me just explain. So this is a stock style fuel module, and I've done a lot of research, and you know, there's companies like Tanks Inc. and others that make EFI tanks, and I see people post, hey, when I get under quarter tank of fuel, I get fuel starvation issues, okay? That's not going to happen with this. This is a proven OEM design that every car on the road comes with. They come with this style fuel module, and you can run the tank to 0 fuel, and there's no starvation issues, okay? So that's awesome. But see this guy right here? This is a Venturi pump, which sucks fuel in, fills the bucket, and provides fuel to the pumps, okay? But you see how it has like a nipple here? So this can be hooked up to a hose and draw fuel from like a tank that has a hump in it, like over a tunnel or other side of the car or whatever. So that's what this is used for. But in this application, we have this corner pickup kit. So let me open this real quick. So what this thing is I attach this guy to the pump, and these guys run to about here, okay? So when fuel sloshes to one side or the other, this guy acts as the pickup, okay? It's one side or the other. And how these work is when it is uncovered, when there's no fuel, when it's not dipped in fuel, it actually closes, okay? And then the other one will have fuel and it'll suck, okay? So it automatically closes. It's like spraying water on a screen, and you know how it gets wet and it shuts? Same principle. So there's little tabs way in here. This guy locks in, and this setup is proven to run your engine with less than 1 gallon of fuel in the tank reliably. Okay, so that's awesome. Okay. Now, real quick, this pump here, I can run with straight battery voltage. Okay, there's a Cadillac pump that will need a PWM controller, and VaporWorks has that, so it's a standalone PWM controller. Again, I'll explain that in a later video. All right, so how these corner pickups attach, it's just a quick connect fitting right onto this pump here. So it just snaps on, and that's where it's drawing fuel from either corner. You have this thing, a little pickup, take it off easily. So that's awesome. This guy just gets installed here. Just like that. You got the cam ring that goes on here, and in the O-ring, which I have in the box. So that just hooks in there, and it's a single feed line, quick connect, all the way to the engine. And I'm going to be using my existing 3/8 line that's in the rail. Okay, we'll see how far that can take me. So that should just be a whip here and a whip in the engine bay, and I'm done. So that's awesome. Now this guy has a pressure regulator and fitting that will need to be adapted, because I believe this pump is PWM'd. So I need to replace this with the regulator and the fitting that VaporWorks gave me if I use this pump, okay? So what's cool about this is the regulator, the filter, all that is right here. Single feed line, whips here and there, so it kind of really simplifies things. Yes, some of this stuff is more expensive, but I think in the end it's going to be an awesome setup. All right, guys, this is impossible for me to get the camera in there, but you see that sheet metal piece there? It looks like a triangle on top of the hole in it. Well, that's where the corner pickup snaps in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. You just kind of lift it up. It's tricky because I can't see what I'm doing. There it goes. That guy's on there, and it can rotate. So you got enough slack here to put the pump on. Let's go ahead and do this one. There it goes. Nice. So then that just hooks up. We'll hook that up with no kinks when we're ready. But yeah, that's a real nice setup, man. All right, over here it looks like I'll need a rubber hose to attach this filler neck, and I'll probably need to weld a bracket onto here and to the car, I guess. I'm assuming. I'm not too sure, but and then it comes with straps. So can't wait, man. Can't wait. The tank does have a baffle in here, so it prevents some fuel slosh, and there's some holes in here on the top, kind of towards the top, and on the bottom, just to, you know, prevent a little bit of fuel slosh. So that's nice. All right, let's talk a little bit about how a fuel module works, and then the VaporWorks stuff included in the Resto Mod Tank. Okay, so we have our fuel tank, right? We have our opening for our fuel module to sit in here, and it sits on like some posts, right? Spring-loaded posts. And the spring-loaded posts is so this bucket sits right at the bottom. It's preloaded on the bottom of the tank, okay? And we have this little nipple coming out of here. So let's say we have just a little bit of fuel in the tank, okay? Let's just say this is 1 to 2 gallons or an inch of fuel, right? There's a pump in here, right? Let's just label this P. And there's some kind of manifold in here. And this is often called like the suction pump, Venturi pump or something. When this pump comes on, it draws fuel in here, okay? And then it has like a little bleed hole, okay? And it fills the bucket, okay? So the bucket fills all the way up with fuel, all the way up to here. So this is all fuel in here. And then it actually spills over and back into the tank. Okay, so this does a couple things. This is a reservoir for the pump to sit in. It keeps the pump cool. And then this, let's say this were to get uncovered with fuel, no fuel gets to this guy, you can run the engine for like a minute or two on this until somehow fuel gets back to here, okay, if this is sloshing around or whatever. So that's awesome, okay? So now let's talk about, let's say, you know, I built my car to handle a little bit better than stock, right? So let's say I'm in a corner, or I'm taking a long sweeping turn and all the fuel's like this, right? Now this is uncovered, right? Well, we have the pickups here in the corners. This one here has no fuel, so it's closed. You know, we have the hoses that lead to this guy. So you can see in a corner situation, it'll draw fuel up this way. This is closed, but it'll draw fuel this way. Okay, so that's awesome. And what's nice about this is it's a single feed. No return line. So you're not moving fuel all the way to the engine bay and back, which heats up the fuel, right? Not desired for a street car. Also, it makes it more complicated because you have another line to run. Okay, so single line, you move the fuel that you need. There's a regulator in here that bypasses the fuel for the Gen 5 LS3 pump. For others, they are PWM'd, and I'll do another video on that. But basically, that's how it works. So it's just a really reliable setup, in my opinion, or in theory, this is awesome. I mean, this is how every EFI car on the road operates. It has some kind of fuel module like this, so I kind of want to retain that. And there's options for a lot of horsepower with this setup, this special hole that's in here. So I'm covered with as much power as I freaking want. I mean, I'll pay for it with a bigger pump setup and whatnot, but that's how. That's what's nice about the Resto Mod Tank, the VaporWorks technology. So that's it. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this video on the Resto Mod Tank from Rick's. I'll drop some links below for VaporWorks and for Rick's, so you can check out all that information, browse their tanks, see the VaporWorks technology and products that they have. And I'll probably do more videos on it in the future, but I kind of need to figure a few things out. So stay tuned for the next video. In the meantime, I'm going to have the whole Chevelle LS Turbo playlist up here in the upper right, so go ahead and watch all those videos.